How much debt is too much debt? And how do you know if you'll be able to afford your law school debt? And how do you know what kind of salary you'll need to be able to afford your law school debt? Do you just wing it? Today, we're going to be talking about law school financial aid. Specifically, we're going to be talking about loans. So not the kind of merit aid, the grants and scholarships we all love to receive, but the loans that most of us, no matter who you are probably going to have to take out unless you're able to get one of those full ride or full tuition plus stipend scholarships from law school. Loans can seem incredibly scary, but they don't have to. You just have to have a plan. For those of you who are new, my name is Cindy Montgomery, and I'm the founder of S. Montgomery Admissions Consulting, a brand underneath the Barrier Breakers 501c3 nonprofit, where we specialize in working with first-generation and minority law school applicants. And today, we are talking about debt. We're talking about loans. But I want to break down how you can approximate your law school loan payments. We're going to do a little screen share, and for those of you listening on the podcast, I will go through all of this in detail. But if you're not already subscribed to our YouTube channel, definitely make sure that you go to our YouTube channel and you subscribe so you can see what it looks like on your screen. I also want to take this opportunity to remind everyone that Barrier Breakers is a nonprofit organization, and we run on donations and grants, as well as sliding scale pricing for all of our students. So if you are interested in continuing to support us, the podcast, or the work that we do with students, definitely check the link below at barrier-breakers/donors. We would love to have you support us. And if you are an aspiring law school student or a current law school student or legal professional, make sure you register and check out our free second annual Break Into Law conference happening July 8th and 9th. Virtual, it's free, and everyone who registers will be eligible to win up to $3,000 in scholarships. Make sure that you take care of those things, and now let's dive into law school loans. So I have up on my screen a couple of different resources. The first resource that we're going to look at is AccessLex Student Loan Calculator, which honestly, it is in the name. It's a student loan calculator. It's fantastic. AccessLex does so much when it comes to law school finances, financial aid, and transparency. The second resource that I will also talk to you about is from Smart Asset. Smart Asset has a student loan calculator. I love Smart Asset. It's really great in thinking about things like taxes or retirements or home buying. So it's not really specific to law school loans or student loans in general, but they do actually have some pretty cool tools. But we're going to start with AccessLex because AccessLex does law school. And for those of you who are like, what does AccessLex do? You can always go to accesslex.org. They are empowering the next generation of lawyers. They have diversity programs. They have things for financial education, things for policy and advocacy, research, and data. And so there are so many really great things that AccessLex has. So definitely make sure that you check them out. Now let's go back to their student loan calculator, which you can get to under tools and resources, or you can just Google AccessLex Student Loan Calculator. Understand the financial realities of your law school degree, know what you'll need to borrow, and explore different repayment plans. So here you'll be able to identify loan consolidation and refinancing options. You'll also understand how much can be forgiven under the Public Service Loan Forgiveness Program. Now it doesn't necessarily map on fully to schools that have their own loan repayment assistance program, so definitely understand that there is a difference, and we have videos on the difference between loan repayment assistance programs and public service loan forgiveness programs. One is a forgiveness program where after a certain number of qualifying payments your loans are forgiven, and the other is a repayment assistance program where you're receiving a check maybe twice a year, once a year to actually pay your loans. So they have different things for aspiring law school students, current law school students, and law school graduates. You can already tell that this is going to be probably a 3-part series. If you click on this aspiring student calculator, you'll see that there are 7 steps. It's giving FAFSA, but that's okay. Don't be afraid of it. So first off, what kind of program do you want to attend? So let's say I'm going to attend a 3-year law program at... I am from Maryland, and so we are going to go ahead and put the University of Maryland. Shout out, go Terps, fear the turtle. All right, great. What is your current student loan situation? So it says, let's get a handle on what you've already borrowed for your previous and currently in progress degrees. If you currently have no student loans, skip this step. Now, I am not going to put everything in here, but I did have some loans from Princeton. So let's say I'm going to put in direct subsidized. I don't know if that's correct right now, but it's fine. Let's say I had $10,000 remaining, and let's say the interest rate was 6%. Just kind of putting in some numbers. All right, great. Let's say I had a second loan from Princeton. Let's say it's probably a Stafford loan. It's fine. We're going to put in a Stafford unsubsidized loan. Let's say this one was $5,000 and the interest rate was 5%. I'm making up these numbers, completely making up these numbers. Okay. And let's say I had one private loan and I have a private loan for $3,000 and the interest rate on that is, 7%. Okay. Great. So what you can see on the screen is that there's a little disclaimer. This calculator uses a weighted average interest for prior borrowing. If you have added private loans, please note that the repayment terms for private loans are not standard. Therefore, we're unable to include your private loans in your repayment calculations. Loans added as other will be treated as federal direct unsubsidized loans. So I have a total federal balance of the numbers I made up of about $15,000 with an average interest rate of 5.67%. So, one is 6 and one was 5, and it talks about how it weights the average interest. And then I've got my private student loan balance, but this will not be included in the calculation. All right, how much will my degree cost? Each school calculates and publishes an estimated cost of attendance. This annually calculated figure generally includes tuition, fees, and estimated living expenses. I'm on the next page now. If we know it, the school's cost of attendance for a first-year student enrolled full-time in a JD program is pre-filled below. We've broken it down into 2 components, the educational expenses, tuition and fees, and living expenses for the academic year. If the cost of attendance below is blank, check the school's website to locate this information. It is often housed in a financial aid or admissions section of the school's website. Be sure to look for living expenses as well as tuition and fees. So it looks like they already know the University of Maryland cost of attendance. And remember, I said that I was an in-state student. And so how long is the academic year? They pre-filled it at 9 months. What amount does the school indicate for tuition and fees during the academic year? $35,536. What amount does the school estimate for living expenses during the academic year? $25,355. Now let's say they didn't know it. You can just go to University of Maryland School of Law, cost of attendance. First hit says JD tuition and fees. They have a PDF, so I'm going to click on the PDF, cost of attendance for first year students, and it has a budget item, the tuition for day residents, day non-state residents, evening residents, evening non-residents. So luckily, AccessLex kind of pre-filled it for me. It's pretty close to this PDF that the University of Maryland has. I'm sure there's some discrepancy for the year, but this is how you would find it if AccessLex didn't have it. Okay, so we're going to click continue on the AccessLex loan calculator. We're now on step 4. How much will you need for living expenses? So your school's cost of attendance is the most you can borrow for each year of school, not what you are obligated to borrow. Be sure to calculate and set your budget with only what you need to prevent overborrowing. The school estimated my living expenses to be $25,355 over a 9-month period. If we were to do that math, they're estimating about $2,817 per month. What do I think I will need to spend on rent while I am in law school? Hopefully, I might share an apartment. So maybe $1,000. Average loan fees, I'm not sure, but the University of Maryland said that it was probably about $1,900 a year. Oh, for the year though, I'm gonna need more than $1,000. For the year, maybe my rent's $1,000 a month. Okay, so $9,000. All right, how much do I need for food? Maybe I eat like $400 worth of food a month. There's 9 months, so $3,600. Okay, transportation, maybe that's like gas. Maybe gas is like $100 a month. Maybe I got a car payment. Maybe that's another $400 a month, so maybe $500 a month for gas and a car payment. Books and supplies, maybe it's about $500 each semester. And then like personal stuff, like maybe I just want like some personal spending money. I really don't have a lot left in this little calculation, so there we go. So what if I had some personal debt? It says, while not included in the school's cost of living estimate, it's important to include all your expenses to understand your financial situation. Enter the amount you will spend on these expenses for the academic year below. So maybe I have a credit card or I have a personal loan. What if my credit card's like $400 a month in credit card payments? Okay, so times 9, that's an additional $3,600. Okay, we are above what it should be. And so other expenses could be childcare or elder care. So maybe I'm sending money home to my parents. Maybe I send $200 a month home to my parents. Okay, so my total estimated living expenses is about $30,755. I might want to rethink the rent situation or perhaps this personal situation over here. Or maybe I should eat less. I'm not sure. And the school's estimated living expenses, $25,355. That's the amount that I can borrow. So this extra amount, this total estimated living expenses, like I put in more total estimated living expenses than the school's estimated living expenses. And there's a delta of about $5,000, which means that's $5,000 I would not be able to borrow. I would have to come out of like savings or something else. So the next page is now asking me, step 5, how much will you contribute to your in-school expenses? Do I have any income or savings that'll be used to pay for law school every year? If you have a job, this would be good. Are you working part-time? Are you nannying? I worked 3 jobs in law school. I nannied, I taught piano, I did admissions consulting. I mean, if it was a job, I had it. I think I probably made $200 or $300 a week. So let's say $200 a week is $800 a month. So times 9 months is about $7,200. And do I have any savings? This calculator is going to set aside 15% for emergencies. So let's say I have $5,000 in savings. It's going to say I can use $4,250 after my emergency fund. It's going to set aside 15% for an emergency fund. Do I have any other financial assistance? Like, are your parents going to give you any money per month, or your godparents, or do you have any kind of gifts or employer tuition reimbursement? Let's say I can expect my parents to give me $3,000 per year. That didn't happen, but let's just say it could. So I've now put in what I plan to contribute to my in-school expenses. $7,200 in annual income during the school year, which is really not a lot. Savings allocated per academic year, and other financial assistance. All right, how much do I expect to receive in scholarships and grants? If you are applying to law school, you might not have this information yet. So it says if you don't have any grants or scholarships, you can skip this step and calculate your financial outlook. If you are going into law school in the fall, you should have this information, right? This is where that merit money comes in. Like, how much are you planning to get every year? So let's say I got the Awesome Marylander Award. And the Awesome Marylander Award, which does not exist, is $10,000. And it renews every single year. So now it's asking me, what other information can I provide about myself? Step 7. This information below will be used to calculate potential monthly payments under income-driven repayment plans. While you may not know what your adjusted gross income is yet, because you're probably still going into law school, you can estimate it. Research potential salaries for your career plan and location at NALP or through law school career service departments. So NALP has information about salaries and compensations. What is NALP? It is an association of over 3,000 legal career professionals who advise law students, lawyers, law offices, and law schools in North America and beyond. It's the National Association for Law Placement. So they have a lot of really cool resources as well. I went into family law in the great state of Maryland when I graduated from law school, and I made about $65,000. My projected family size was just 1, so you're supposed to include yourself, but I didn't have a spouse, and I lived in the great state of Maryland, as we've already established. And now, once you've put in all of that information, which does take some time, but it's not crazy, it's going to give us an outlook. So based on the answers that I've provided, they've estimated the amount that I need to borrow to complete my degree. You can then use some navigations on the left to explore additional calculators. So a borrowing overview, a repayment outlook, you can project your future, consolidation and refinancing, you can do a public service loan forgiveness calculator, and things. You can also register for an Ask Edna account to explore free resources on paying for law school, taking control of your finances, and planning for academic success. So it looks like, based on my answers, I may need to borrow $42,561 per academic year. This is how they broke it down. University of Maryland's total cost of attendance is $60,891. That includes tuition and fees, and that also includes living expenses. However, I said that I was going to get $10,000 in scholarships from being an Awesome Marylander. But I also put in about $5,400 more in estimated cost of living because I had some additional things like some personal debt or maybe a high car payment, and I like to eat. But they are also going to take away some of my income in savings. I said I was going to be able to put a little more than $4,000 in every year from my savings. So when you add up and subtract all of those things, it comes to a delta of $42,561 that I'd have to borrow every year to go to the University of Maryland, which means that I would need to borrow $127,683 to complete a 3-year law program at the University of Maryland. They also took in the debt that I had before. Remember, they asked me if I had any federal loan balances from previous degrees. I said I had about $15,000. And so my new loans are also there. They told me my total federal student loan obligation would be $162,565. So the $127,000 I needed to go from the University of Maryland, plus the $15,000 that I had from my previous degrees, and they've added on some capitalized interest onto that. You're like, this is a lot of numbers. Stay with me. So now we're going to talk about your repayment outlook. And this is so important. This is the most important part right here. They didn't include my $3,000 of private loans, which is fine, but they have a little note about it. They've given me some different things. There's a standard loan repayment over 120 months. There's an extended fixed payment. There's income-based repayment, pay as you earn, revised pay as you earn. There's a lot of different things. If I choose to view the graph, let's say I'm doing the standard repayment, they've again made some sort of average interest rate, a weighted average interest rate, and then they have a chart of basically how much I'm going to pay and when I will be able to pay such a thing off. 120 payments is 10 years, so they've put my loans on a 10-year plan. They also have a table, if I want to see it that way, with the interest paid, the premium paid, and the balance. So what this means, though, is if I'm thinking about it, and there's a Project Your Future button, but if I'm thinking about it, this would be a standard monthly repayment, almost $2,000 a month in student loan fees, which might seem like a crazy amount to you. But that all really depends on how much money you're going to make in your salary. And also know that it doesn't have to be that, right? There's income-based repayments and new income-based repayments that lower that monthly payment. They change how long it takes to pay your loans off. So maybe not that standard 10 years, maybe a little bit more than 10 years. It increases the amount of interest that you're paying, of course. Some of it might be forgiven depending on what kind of job you go into. So let's look at this Project Your Future tab. We're almost done. Just stay with me. They say, let's put those numbers into context. After you graduate, how can different student loan payments fit into your budget? And how much interest could you save with increased payments? You can use the calculator below to project your annual living expenses and then see how each repayment plan could fit into your future budget. So if you project your annual living expenses, and you can calculate them here, which I love. So if I estimate my housing, my rent to be $1,500, my utilities are going to be about, $200, my transportation, this is per year. Okay, so my housing is not going to be $1,500, it will be $18,000, and my utilities will be $2,400, and my transportation is probably $200 a month also. My food, I really like to eat, so maybe it's $4,800. I've got insurance because I'm a grown-up and insurance is really important. And then my estimated debt, I still have some credit card debt that I'm dealing with. And then I like to go out to the movies sometimes. Also, I like to shop sometimes. So I put my total estimated living expenses at about $43,200. With the standard repayment plan, if I am expecting a salary of $65,000, I may need to change some things about my life. And a household size of 1, you can see that I'm not really doing it. I'm not really making enough. Here's the thing. Let's say all of that was true, but I worked at a bigger firm and I made $120,000 per year. Now, I will also say the starting salary for most big law firms is somewhere around $215,000 at this point. Some of these expenses might be a little bit more if you're working at a big law firm, but you can see how the salary really changes the future monthly income and expenses. At $215,000, if I continue to have the same living expenses that I put in there, I will be able to pay my loans off in 10 years because my monthly income will be about $12,000. My monthly student loans will be about a little less than $2,000, and my monthly expenses are about $3,600. So I will actually have $6,500 left over, which is beautiful and not very likely because my expenses will probably be higher than that. But you can see how that's okay. Now, if you look at a salary of $100,000, with the same thing, my monthly income will be about $6,000. My monthly student loan bills will be about $2,000. All of my other monthly expenses will be about $3,600, and I'll have $553 left over to put towards savings or a down payment or anything like that. Now, if you're like, ooh, that's kind of tight, I'd really like more than $500 left over after my student loans and my fixed monthly expenses, then you know you have to make more than $100,000 when you come out of law school if this is what you're going to borrow, which is possible, right? It's possible. Now, there's something that we can do. We can go to the University of Maryland and we can go to a law school transparency report. And if we go to University of Maryland Law School Transparency Report and we go to jobs, or actually we go to salaries, the median salary for someone coming out of the University of Law School is $66,335. Going back to my student loan calculator, I feel really, really great as long as I'm making maybe more than $110,000 as a salary. I feel really comfortable with this plan. But if I put in the median salary, that most University of Maryland law school graduates come out with, then this plan is not really working for me. I'm actually making less than I need to cover my monthly expenses and my student loans. So I either need to change my monthly expenses, or I might need to change my repayment plan. Maybe I need to go on an income-based repayment plan or a new income-based repayment plan, right? That seems like something I can afford. Or a pay-as-you-earn plan. But understanding that all of these plans, the pay-as-you-earn, the new income-based, the revised pay-as-you-earn plan, they might change how long it takes me to pay my loans off and also what interest I end up paying. But you can start to project your future this way. You can actually get a real cost of what this school is going to cost you with real numbers, not made up numbers, and you can actually put in what your estimated expenses are and what your estimated salary is, or even what the median salary is for that school, and see the different repayment plans and see what does this really look like and what am I comfortable with. And the reason I say this is because some of you have projected living expenses. Maybe they're $70,000. Okay, you're living large, that's fine, but you're planning to go to Big Law. You're still going to have a lot of money left over if you were to choose to go to the University of Maryland or somewhere else. But again, you have to understand, like, most graduates for the University of Maryland actually don't go into Big Law. Most go into clerkships. Some go into a national law firm, about 12%, right? But that just gives you, okay, if I know I want to go to the University of Maryland and I want to make a certain amount of money when I come out, and I understand only 12% of students from the University of Maryland go to a national law firm that might pay, more than $150,000 or whatever, then I need to figure out what I need to do if this is the decision that I'm making to go there. Now, there are some schools where most students go to a national law firm, and so your ability to go to a school that has that kind of starting salary is higher, right? If you look at the University of Chicago or Columbia or Harvard, the median salary is significantly higher. And so when you're doing your loan calculator, you can factor that in as well. Now, very briefly, on the side here, there's information about consolidating and refinancing your loans. There's also information here about the Public Service Loan Forgiveness Calculator. I'm not going to go into that today, but I really wanted to focus on this projecting your future because I think we tend to get to this place where we're really afraid of debt. Especially first-gen and minority students, they tend to either say, I don't care how much it's going to cost, I want to go to law school. I don't care what the loans are, I'm going to go to law school. And then I think on the other end, there are people who are like, I don't care what the opportunities are, I don't care how this could change my future, I'm not taking out any loans for school, I'm only going to law school where I can go for free. And I think both of those can be problematic. Those are both extremes. And the answer really needs to be, it depends. It depends on your situation. What if you don't have any debt? That would change some of these calculations. What if you're going to a school that has a really high median starting salary and also the amount that you have to borrow is not that great? There are so many things that can factor into whether it's good or not to take out debt. Because some of you are turning down schools because you have to take out debt. But the reality is that in 10 years, that debt will be paid off. And based on what your projected starting salary is and based on what your debt is, it's actually not that bad. You'll still have a ton of discretionary income left over. And it could have significant impacts on your career. But again, likewise, some of you are not doing this calculation and the number is actually negative. You're actually walking into a situation that you're not going to be able to afford. So it's really important that we make decisions based on facts, based on numbers, based on calculations. And AccessLex has provided a wonderful calculator for you. They're pulling in the numbers from the law schools for you. They're helping you figure this out. They're guiding you every single step of the way. You don't have to be a financial genius. You don't have to know a lot about money. You don't have to know anything about money. It will help you make better educated decisions. I didn't know a lot about loans when I was going to law school. I really didn't know anything about loans. It was all very confusing and very overwhelming. And we do not make our best decisions when we're coming at a place from overwhelm or confusion. So I know this was a long video, a long podcast episode, but my goal here was to help demystify the loan process, to show you that you can walk yourself through this. You can make these calculations for yourself such that you will feel empowered to know that you are making the right decisions. And that is what I want you to do. I want you to feel empowered to make the right decisions because the law school community, your legal career, your pedigree, even if you stop practicing law, is for the rest of your life. and you deserve it, and you deserve to have the upward mobility that can come from taking this step in your career. So I'm really excited for you. If you have any questions, make sure that you like and subscribe, rate and review. Always, you can submit questions to bit.ly/breakintolawschool. As a reminder, like I said, Barrier Breakers is a nonprofit organization. We do run on donations and grants, so you can always support us at barrier-breakers/donors. And make sure that you come and register to our second annual free and virtual Break Into Law conference at bit.ly/breakintolaw. So I will see you guys next time. Make sure you share this with a friend, and I'll talk to you very soon.